That is such a powerful point. Oh my gosh.
Yes, that is exactly what this point is. And us talking through it right now, that's why it's so hard.
How's it going, my dear?
You know, I loved our episode last week so much because it changed the mind frame of like all this pressure we put on ourselves and things for the new year. And all that is really coming to a head. Like I realized, yes, you know what? All this pressure build up, I needed to chill.
I think you
Okay.
sort of manifested it in your personal life. We're going to take it on still. I still got good feelings about 2025.
I do think that when things start off rocky and unsure and all of the obstacles are coming at you all at once, that something amazing is on the other side. I'm a true believer of that, which is why we always say to give ourselves grace in these moments. We are not perfect beings. It's okay. Like, girl, it's okay. If this problem came to you, it means that you can get through it. So 2025 is not going to be an issue. It's just everything's happening at one time, and we're going to get through it. It's okay. It's just off to a rocky start. That's all.
I love it, girl. We're preaching right out the gate. Welcome, everyone, to the Plan With Us podcast.
Hello, my name is Niara Gore. It's me, NCG, on all platforms. Welcome to the Plan With Us podcast. This is
Hello, my name is Jessica Raney, and you can find me at Jessie Track on all social media platforms. We are the fabulous co-hosts of the Plan With Us pod, and we're excited to be here. What is your drink of the day?
my husband and I are on a bubble tea kick right now. He's obsessed with like fruity teas, but I'm like a milk tea girl. So this is a taro oolong milk tea.
That sounds divine. Though I don't know, is that iced? I don't know how you're doing it iced right now.
It is iced because we got them last night and it was warm in the apartment last night. And then I woke up and I was like, oh, I need to drink this thing. I was just sitting in there too long. Threw some ice in the cup. I'm slowly regretting it. I might need to grab a sweater mid-break. You might see me grab a sweater in the middle of this, but
It is so bitterly cold right now, and it is only unfortunately going to be getting colder. So I also have some tea. I have some hot. This is just a good old cup of Earl Grey tea with milk and sugar in it. So we both are of the same, sort of palate, sort of vibe. I was drinking a coconut oolong tea the other night that made me think of you because it feels like a very similar vibe to the boba, taro, oolong world. Those are like the cozy vibes that we need right now as the temperature just continues to plummet.
yes, pray for us over here with this cold, of course. But yeah, this is just the vibe I was going for today. When you said you were making yourself a hot tea, I was like, that sounds really good too. But I didn't give myself the time right now. So I probably will be drinking warm drinks for the rest of the day.
I am literally sitting here in my little quarter zip. I have a blanket on my lap. I have tea in my hands. And it's not even like the house itself is very cold. I miss when the temperature was above freezing. So I'm just going to really, really embrace the cozy season, embrace the cozy times, and just hang on until spring comes. It's that time of year,
Yeah, it's that time. We got to muster through it. All the holiday spark and joy is kind of gone. All the events have left us. Now it's just cold, you know?
Yeah.
So now we're going to get through this and then be excited for March and spring and rebirth and the sun and the flowers and the animals and all the beauty and everything.
I was going to say now is the time to sort of get to work, but this topic of this episode is very much the opposite of that. So maybe these are some lessons that we need to take into account ourselves for our own lives. We're going to be preaching to ourselves today, I think.
For sure. If you guys watch our faces light up and change as we discuss this topic, it's because we're having a revelation within ourselves. Okay. We realize that, oh, I should be doing this. Like, I need to be implementing this into my routine and to what I'm doing. So let's get into the topic. Let's get into the topic, girl.
We always say we're going to work things out in real time. Like these podcast sessions are honestly just us having our everyday conversations. And I think this is a conversation that needs to be had. It's about rest. Resting. After all of the busyness of the holiday season, after all of the pressure and the beginning of the year to sort of kick things off and set your goals, which we did talk about last episode, sort of our approach to setting yearly goals and goals in general, just for any time of year, because as we said last episode, it does not need to be specific to January 1st, but sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum, why taking time to rest is important.
And it's often something that we forget. It's often something we neglect. And I think that women our age specifically, or within our generation, have a hard time with rest. Would you agree?
Yes, it is very much a millennial thing that you are not allowed to take a rest.
Yeah. So like I guess before we dive in more, I guess like what really is rest? When you think of rest, like what do you think of?
In general, or like specific acts that I would do when I'm like, I need to rest?
I guess like acts when you're like, oh, I need rest. What does that entail?
Taking a nap. Putting everything that I'm working on to the side for a moment and just really taking some time to sort of meditate. Whether that's literally meditating or journaling, going for a walk can sometimes be a really big mental rest for me. It's either something physically, like my body itself is tired and I need to like close my eyes and rest, or the majority of the time I feel like for me it's mentally that my mind is going like a million miles an hour and I just need it to be quiet and I need to do activities that will sort of help it to self-soothe and center myself.
Yeah. I can agree with you there where it's like almost a period of nothingness for me comes to mind where I could be taking a nap and sometimes those naps are 20 minutes, sometimes those naps are 2 hours. It all depends on what my body is needing in that moment. Rest is also like I'm a big YouTube watcher. So I'll just throw on one of my favorite like girlies on one of her channels, like sit back and watch. It's very smooth brain, like I don't have to think about anything. Um, I recently got a coloring book.
Yes. I got some for Christmas.
Yes.
I have some markers. I have my markers and my coloring books right here. That is something that has definitely been restful for sure.
I have been seeing people on TikTok like starting to color, like people our age, like in their 30s. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I miss coloring. I just want to color and not think about anything and feel like a kid again. We've talked before about reigniting that like childhood, childlike wonder, that childlike excitement about something. And coloring sparks creativity, but also lets your mind rest. And I can't wait to get back into coloring. Like new markers, new book. Like I'm going for it.
It's very meditative for sure. Especially as someone who does graphic design and illustration for a living. It can be very mentally refreshing to sort of not have to break the mold, I guess, or I guess as you're saying, like very smooth brain. I don't have to physically draw the lines themselves and think of the concept and think of the meaning. I can just sit there and look at all the pretty colors and put the pretty colors where I want them on the paper. And it's very meditative and I love it. Similar to like watching YouTube girlies, Um, Everyone has their comfort shows. That's a big thing that, when I sort of want to be restful, I'll put on like that comfort show of mine and just sort of like chill out on the couch. Comfort movies, things like that. So yeah, I would say rest is also a lot of finding things that bring you that comfort.
I agree. I think that as we get older, we turn away from things that we feel like we have to outgrow because we're adults now, like the coloring book
Hmm.
situation. But those things like really make us feel whole and home, especially us too. Like we're both art girlies, went to art school. Art is a part of our careers and the things that we like to pursue. So it becomes so mundane and serious, and so then creating starts feeling like this chore, this job. I think that for me, that's one of the reasons why I had stopped drawing for so long. I haven't drawn anything, and I was a fashion designer, you guys. I never like even talk about this, but I designed some looks, okay?
I
But
love
I
Niara's drawings. Niara still has some drawings in her house. I love your style of drawing.
and I want to get back to loving that. Thank you so much, by the way. That was very nice of you to say.
Oh, it's
I
true.
like I lost like the love for it because I was doing it to get a job and I was getting rejected or um which is fine because rejection comes with art, but I think that I was getting to a point like what's the point of me doing this now if it's not going to pay for my life, if it's not going to give me any kind of monetary substance or value. So I neglected it and I stopped doing it. So that's why I want to really tap back into resetting things that made me who I am, which is being creative and being still with color and things like that. You know?
I love that. Yeah, I never really thought too much about why I've been so attracted to the coloring books. I also have a million different like crafty hobbies, and I think all of them have to do with that same mindset of separating yourself from and when you work in a creative field or any field at all. Like if you're a chef, maybe you can get burnt out with cooking at home and you really only want to cook like in the restaurant or establishment that you work at. Reigniting that spark, maybe you'd like make some dishes that remind you of, when you first started to cook and you really loved it, or maybe you'd make something really simple, or maybe you'd go back to that restaurant that first like inspired you to become a chef or something like that. Like, you can make the same analogy with any sort of line of work, but for me specifically, being a creative, a graphic designer, an illustrator, having all these different crafty things in my life, I think helps me to have a lot of freedom and to not associate money or worth, physical worth, with something that I really love. And I think it helps to avoid that sort of burnout.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that one thing that I love about you so much is that you're not afraid of a hobby because it
Oh,
doesn't have to
I
be
am
success.
not.
Right. The girl's not
One
afraid
would
of a hobby.
argue I have too many.
And and I find myself being the total opposite because I feel like I have no hobbies. And I have no hobbies because I don't allow myself to rest. Because once I clock out of work, I'm thinking of now what else can I do to make more money? Now what else can I do to be more productive? Now what else can I do to help clean the house or I have to tidy things up? Like I don't give myself a breath to rest in myself and just being a human being, which will then spark the let's try this or why don't I do this or this thing doesn't have to be posted online and this it gets really messy. And I had a conversation with my husband about this because he was asking me like, what do I want to do for fun? And I didn't have an answer.
Hmm.
I had no clue. It's something that didn't involve spending money or feeling like it has to be shown to somebody else for validation or approval. And that comes from having a very unrestful mindset. And I often think that, and I think it's because of how I grew up and how I was taught. I come from a very entrepreneurial family, a very successful family. And in our house, you rest when you're rich, basically. Like, resting is a luxury you have because you work so hard and now you don't have to do anything because all the work has been done. And because I grew up that way, I never think that the work is finished. And that's something that I'm realizing, like, my value is not attached to all of this work and busyness that I have going on in my life. And I think that, I mean, there's two sides of this coin where I have an amazing work ethic, and I think that I can accomplish things successfully, and I bring success to myself, which is fantastic, but I can never enjoy that success because I don't take the time to reflect, look at it, and be grateful in the moment and rest. I have never rewarded myself with rest. And that's what I want to start doing this year.
That is such a powerful point. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Digging deep and being like, this is a pattern that I'm seeing in my life. I think this is where it's coming from. And here are some things I want to do to adjust that pattern for my own physical and mental health is an incredibly mature and very healthy sort of pattern to realize. You know, not a lot of people are set up in that way. So both of us can feel very grateful that we are now in a space where we have loving partners, we have safe homes, we have jobs that provide for us. But that doesn't mean that you don't deserve to rest, you know? If anything, you know, you want to be able to enjoy life and to reflect on your successes. Again, we're going to go back to reflection that we talked so much about in the last episode, because how are you learning anything if you aren't reflecting on it, you know? But I love that for you. I love this journey for you. So we're going to have a very restful 2025, and in return, we're going to have a very joyous, we're going to have a very fulfilling, we're going to have a progressive, a goal-filled, and a balanced 2025, I think.
Absolutely. I am claiming that. And I think I'm also just claiming the using rest as a reward. Actually, I take that back.
I was going to say, that's sort of the exact opposite of what we were just talking about.
No. I'm saying that rest is something that is actually vital to the process of me being a complete human being, and that I deserve it. And that when I find myself sitting doing nothing, I'm not lazy. I just need time to rest and recover. And see, like, this is me still learning. Like, I'm still trying to understand that and what that means to me. Because I'll bring up my husband again. My husband is my bestie, guys. I do a lot of things with my husband. Okay, I will bring him up 5 million times. But he is great at coming home. Like, he clocks out for the day. He is chill. He'll play a video game or watch a show, or he is resting. He's relaxing. He knows that this is the time for that, and that's a part of his day. There's nothing more that needs to be done. Like, once he's home, he's able to rest. And I used to look at him and be like, oh my gosh, he's being so lazy. Like, he's being so lazy right now. He could be helping me with this. He could be cleaning this. He could be doing this. And I can't even sit down. And he'll look at me and be like, can you sit? Can you sit for a minute? Like, I need you to sit down. I need you to do nothing. Get your drink, get your snack, whatever you gotta do, and then come sit down. It's like, the day is over. You're done. Rest. The rest is a part of the day. And I also will think as well, like, when I go to sleep, I'm resting. And he's like, no, that's sleep. And then your day is over. Then you didn't have any rest, a part of the day. You had your work and you're productive all day, and then you just ended your day. That is not rest, guys. A nap can be rest to take you away from the moment of the crazy and allow you to relax in that moment. But if I just go to bed, then the day is just done. I didn't give myself time to decompress and to enjoy the moment that I'm in. And that is what we are trying to do this year. I'm talking to myself. I'm looking in the camera and I'm like, I'm really talking to her right there. That's what's going on right now. And I'll keep probably saying the same things over and over again, because I think I'm also just trying to really get it, like, ingrained in my head So if I sound annoying this episode, I apologize, but I'm learning in this moment from myself.
I don't think you sound annoying at all. I think that's also a beautiful sign that, you know, you're happy and growing in your relationship. That is the good man, Savannah, telling you to sit down, because again, I feel like that must be a man thing that they can just like come home and just like relax. Because us women, us millennial women, we never stop. We don't stop thinking. We don't stop doing. Um, and yeah, I also think it might be a part of growing up, sort of, when you're in your late teens, early 20s, you're like, we got to get out there. You got to make a name for yourself. You got to do this, 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 this. And now that we're both in our 30s, how many times can we say it? I just feel like it's opened such a door for me. Life is also too short not to spend time to rest and enjoy it. I think I've heard a lot of people say that like in your 30s you come into this newfound confidence, and I think that sort of goes hand in hand with it. So I think this is a lesson that you are learning, my dear, and I love it because it is a wonderful, wonderful time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying. And this is also when accountability comes in, because like I said, I have my husband who is keeping me accountable to rest. But then I have you like encouraging me in these moments, which I think is really important, because if I'm home alone and I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, oh my God, like I need to be doing something, But having you say to me like, yes, I'm learning and encouraging me in this moment keeps me accountable to be like, it's okay. We had talked a little bit before about being millennial women and kind of what rest means to us as millennials, who's coming into our 30s, and we grew up with like the girl boss era.
Oh yes.
The
Girl boss.
the very toxic girl boss era. Unfortunately, there's pros and cons to it, but it didn't help us with really understanding how to achieve our dreams in a healthy way, I think. What are your thoughts about that?
I was going to say, I have a whole other episode outline written about girl boss versus the trend that I see now is like slow living, which are two completely opposite ends of the coin. And yeah, I feel like it took me a while to break down that sort of girl boss mindset that was so ingrained to us as young women because it was so popular when we were so impressionable. And I feel like it still has never gone away. Allowing myself to close down my business, I feel like was a very big moment for me as well. Because when I sort of started my small business, Jessie Track, it wasn't the height of the girl boss era, but it definitely influenced me to be like, I'm gonna, be an entrepreneur and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And then as I've gotten older, I've sort of realized how I want to prioritize my life, or there's just physically not enough hours in the day to do it all as one person. I think we've also said before that Beyonce has 24 hours in the day, but she also has teams upon teams upon teams upon teams doing things for her and with her. And just because I don't have a small business does not mean I'm not an entrepreneur. It does not mean that I'm not reaching those goals. I still, have my graphic design work and I still have a very successful career that I'm continuing to grow. And I am still an entrepreneur. So I think once I've made that cutoff of like, hey, I can still be a boss without, completely stressing myself and burning myself out and creating a lifestyle that is just not sustainable for one person with limited time, resources, and connections to do. You guys let us know if you want to hear that, because I think it would be really interesting to like have a whole episode breaking it down.
I think it would be as well. But the only reason I brought that up was because millennial women specifically are just taught that we need to go, go, go. I already touched on a little bit of how I was raised, which is why I have the mindset that I have. What was happening in your household where you grew up, or what was your relationship with rest as you were growing up?
My parents provided a very loving household, and we did not have much. I'm one of 4 siblings, and fun fact, I was homeschooled. I always felt like I sort of had something to prove in that aspect because I would hear, the pressures of people being like, oh, like they aren't going to school. Like, what are they doing? So I was sort of an overachiever even when I was young. I played the viola. I was in like 3 different orchestras. I was in choir. I did art classes. I, was involved in volleyball and swimming, and I was involved in a lot of extracurricular things. I worked really hard. I will say, I look back at, my early 20s and I'm like, she was hustling. She was working and I could not do it now. I look at that girl and I'm like, I don't know how you did it, how you went to college. And I was also working 2 different jobs and doing internships and things like that. And you do sort of reach a point where you're like, something's got to give. You got to rest, whether it's when you are, you know, in your early 20s or when you sort of look back on the last 5-10 years of your life and you're like, when have I taken time to like actually enjoy the things that I've done? And I think also going back to the hashtag girl boss, I think the internet had a lot of impact on us as well. We are the only generation that knew life without the internet and with the internet.
Yes,
And
that
like
is a
being
big thing.
fully immersed in it. And I think having so much access to so many people and what they were doing. And when you're young, you sort of naturally compare yourself to these people are doing this. Why am I not doing that? When I say back in my childhood, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, I think that's where a lot of it stemmed from. I am just this one girl in this small little town. And, I made my first like Facebook account without my mom knowing. And, I would watch like all the OG YouTubers. I'm like, these people are doing such amazing things. And, I want my life to be like that. So I'm going to work super hard. And someone just needs to sit that girl down and be like, you're doing great. You know, enjoy what you have, enjoy these moments because it doesn't last forever. Work hard, but also reflect on what you're working on and the why of why you're doing it.
Yeah, girl. Me hearing you talk about like how you grew up and you know, kind of like you putting pressure on yourself in a way. It's like it's a complete opposite for me because pressure was very much an outside thing coming in, and now that I don't live with my family, it has seeped in. So that pressure still feels like it's on me once I exit, like once I go out my door. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Well, because it's so ingrained in you.
Yeah, yeah. And we had talked about this before. Therapy is very much on the horizon. We're gonna get there. Therapy is definitely something I want to start this year. But I think that just once I just take down all of those, I guess take down this wall of pressure brick by brick and just understanding why it was built in the first place, it will allow me to just relax.
It can be a journey. It can be a journey of you opening up wounds and doors that you weren't quite, thinking that you're going to open up. But I think it's a necessary journey if you want to, you know, live to your highest potential and your truest self, I guess, if that doesn't sound too woo woo. But I think having known you personally for a long time and knowing a lot of your background, I think that would be really beneficial for you. And knowing me and my background, I know that it would be beneficial. I do think everyone should at least try, to go to therapy because everyone has childhood. Like everything stems from your childhood. Everything.
Because none of us are perfect, and at one point our
Not to say
moms
we
were
had bad childhoods, but we had wonderful
no.
childhoods.
That I'm not saying that. I'm literally not. My parents just wanted me to have the best success they could possibly show me or teach me or have me anything I dreamed of they wanted me to have, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that my parents were also growing and changing and learning. So in the process of raising me, some things maybe weren't necessary or some things shouldn't have been said. And, you know, everybody is growing up and changing and learning. At one point, my mom was also just a girl. You know what I mean? So I think about that for her all the time. Like at one point, my mom was just a girl, and she was trying to figure it out and live her life and figure out what will make her happy. And sometimes things change and things happen when you're growing up. It's life. but it's all part of that grace that we give ourselves, the grace we have to have for others in order for us to grow and change and become better people.
I think that's another, like, when the frontal lobe fully develops, discovery is when you look at your parents, your loved ones, people that you might even not necessarily like get along with, whether that's family members, friends, coworkers, and you realize this is their first time going through life as well. And maybe we should just like give everyone a little bit of grace, especially yourself. Um, be honest with yourself, be honest with other people, and they can sort of choose how they react to you. But yeah, that's a very good thing to note. Not 100% of people's actions are, the best way to go about things all the time. Everyone's still learning. And I think if those people are open and willing to learn and willing to change and to adapt your dynamic, then it's a relationship worth keeping. Hi, everyone. It's Jess checking in mid-episode. I hope you're enjoying this week's topic just as much as we are enjoying chatting about it. Right now would be a really great time to take a little break, get a drink of water, and to follow Plan With Us podcast on all of our platforms. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get a notification every time a new episode goes live. You can also get exclusive content, updates, and clips from our favorite moments over on Instagram. You can find us on both of those platforms at Plan With Us Pod. Leaving a review on your favorite podcast listening platform is also a great way to show us support. We appreciate every single review that is left, and we appreciate every single one of you. So without further ado, let's jump back into the episode.
So why don't we get into types of rest?
I'm very excited to hear about this because I've never thought about the different types of rest in this way. So I'd love for you to spell it out and we'll talk about it.
I'm not a professional in this by any means, but I was listening to a podcast by Alexis Barber. I think I had mentioned her before. She has a podcast called Too Smart for This, and she always ends up with, you're too smart, like, not to love yourself, or you're too smart to be offended by all these things, or you're too smart to be burning yourself out all the time. Like, she has different topics like that, and I really, really love it because it's like, at the end of the day, like, what, like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Okay, that's basically what she's saying. So she had an episode where she talks about rest, and for young women our age, as we said before, how hard it is for us to accept rest in our lives. But she broke it down into 4 different types, so it's easy to understand that this can be a form of rest for ourselves. The 4 that I have here that she talked about was rotting, pampering, connection, and rejuvenation. Not in any particular order, of course, but these 4 types of rest allow us to, like, look at different situations in our lives as a way to reset ourselves. Rest is a time to reset. And whether that happens multiple times a day, whether that happens a couple times a week, a couple times a month, however we break it down, rest is crucial and should be actually a priority in our lives so that we can be the best we can be in our other times of our lives when we're being productive or when we're achieving our goals or and things like that. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to break them down. So the first one that I had mentioned is rotting. And a lot of times when we think about rotting, we think of the unproductiveness, the laziness, the thing you shouldn't be doing. But rotting is something that we need to think about doing, because if it doesn't happen, if we don't think about rotting or giving ourselves a moment to back up and have a mental reset, it's going to happen. It's either going to happen out of burnout, it's going to happen because we feel ashamed of too much that we're doing. It's going to happen because we feel guilty, and then we're going to feel bad about doing it. So when I mention rotting, I'm thinking about those times when you are watching that mindless TV show. Very smooth brain activity. Maybe you have a reality trash show that you like to throw on, and it's absolute nonsense. You're not learning anything. You're not having any kind of deductive reasoning about the end of the show. Like, there's nothing that you have to think about when doing this activity, and it allows you to just sit and rest. Okay. So for me, I know I like to rot by sometimes it's a little doom scroll, can be a rot, but it gives myself some time to look at something else that's not work. But something I like to rot in is Pinterest. I love to rot in Pinterest.
Yes. I love being a Pinterest girly.
Yeah, so that allows me to like just not have to think about anything. And there are moments where we, especially as overthinkers, are just constantly thinking about stuff, and we need a time to really just smooth the brain out, not add another wrinkle in there, not at this moment. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
that's really what I'm discovering what rotting is. Even when like sometimes I'll have a rot day because I realize like I need nobody to talk to me. I don't need to look at an email. I'm not gonna text anyone, no calls, no nothing. I have my favorite robe on, I'm cozy. I'm sitting on the couch bundled up, and I'm just looking at things that make me inspired, or I'm watching one of my YouTube girls and just seeing what's going on in their life, and I'm not contributing anything. Like it's just a moment of absolute nothing. Does that make sense?
I love rotting. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I've had a complicated relationship with rotting. When I think about resting, I think that's one of the categories that I never really considered rest and more of like laziness, like we were discussing before. But I do think that it's necessary.
Rotting can spark a hobby, or it can make you realize that you have too much going on and maybe understand things that need to be taken out. Writing can be a time of reflection where you're not sitting there like, all right, let me reflect on my day, let me write this down.
Yeah, not
But it's like
actively. Hmm.
there's
Again,
nothing
smooth
actively
brain.
smooth brain. There's nothing actively going on when you rot. And when she brought up this point, I was like, oh my gosh, like no, I feel like a filthy slob when
Hmm.
I'm rotting. You know what I mean? But I was like, I find myself rotting, then I'm like, oh damn it, I'm right. Like I need to do something. But no, but sometimes those moments, I just need those moments of nothing. Now it's not good to rot all the time, of course. You're not gonna sit here and rot away, okay? But there are times when you just really need to step back and there's nothing productive going on in that moment. Nothing new has to be happening in this time. A time of stillness, even maybe, or a rot. It could have a rotting nap where you wake up like messed up, and people always say when you have that one nap that really helps you have all
Yep.
the lines on your face. Yeah,
Hmm.
a nice rot sometimes is good.
An, an activity that I think has contributed to an increase in my rotting time is playing very cozy video games. Me
Yes.
and my husband love to play video games. He has, his Xbox. I have my Switch, though he also dabbles in the Switch. But we'll just sit there next to each other and, smooth brain, not much is going on, but we're just enjoying playing those games. And right now, when it's like freezing cold, is a time where we really amp that up. But also realizing that to everything there is a season. Like I'm definitely gonna have more rot days right now when it's freezing cold than, in the summer when I want to be out and about and doing things. Allowing yourself to have seasons of rest and seasons of productivity and realizing that it doesn't have to be one for one, I think is another big thing.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's such a good point. Last year for my birthday, I asked my husband for a Switch because I was like, I need something that doesn't feel like work. I need something. So he got me a Switch, and I realized there's certain cozy games that really like relax me so much, but I would punish myself for playing the game too much.
Hmm.
Not allowing those moments of smooth brain activity, just exploring a little land or customizing a cute character, things like that. So that's when I realized myself is that I'm allowed to have these moments of rest or rot, as we're talking about now. I'm allowed to have these moments. I worked hard all day, I did all that, but I'm allowed to do this too. And it's I haven't touched my Switch for months because I have it's a really like struggle of like I'm about to sit here and I know I'm about to play it for 2 hours. And I time myself. I don't give myself that chance to just relax in it. So that's rotting in a healthy way that just takes my mind off of also my own anxieties and things like that is something really, really important that I want to implement. And of course, I'm trying to teeter this line to say like you rot in moderation, of course. Like it's not to say like you need to stop doing everything, like don't put yourself together, things like that. But not every day has to be me waking up, doing my hair, putting makeup on, putting the best fit on, taking pictures, posting it, doing all this stuff. No, sometimes I just wake up, I throw my robe on, I make myself a cup of tea, and I sit on the couch. And that is okay.
Yes, girl. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so the next type of rest is pampering. Now, pampering also is something that sometimes we feel like we don't deserve. Because why would I deserve to sit and have my hand massaged, or, you know, go get my hair done and make myself feel good, or get my nails done, or why do I feel like I need this indulgence? Why I'm not allowed to have ice cream? I need to be losing weight. I'm not allowed to do this. Like, pampering is a way for you to be taken care of. That is a form of rest as well. And I remember when for my birthday last year, we were supposed to go get facials. The timing didn't work out correctly.
That's a whole different
work out right. But I remember thinking, like, because I wanted you to get one as well. It's a whole other story. We can't go into it right now. Anyways, going to get a facial was a way for me to feel pampered and taken care of, and it was something that I know that I deserve, but I often feel like I don't deserve it because I didn't work hard enough to get it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What are some ways that you pamper yourself?
As far as pampering goes, and like appointments, like going to get my nails done, going to get my hair done, I am infinitely bad at booking those for myself. However, I do love my pampering time at home. Like, I love my skincare routine. I always take time to do my extra long skincare routine, which we're still going to have an episode one day. I'm envisioning of us talking all about our skincare, and it's going to be the best time ever. And I do love doing things at home to sort of take care of my body and to, make me feel good. Even though I got my coloring books for Christmas, sort of pampering myself with buying something that I really want, that doesn't necessarily add any practicality into my life. Again, can be a slippery slope because shopping addictions are real. And we're going to, be mindful with our money. But as long as it's just like a time to time thing, I think there's nothing wrong with it.
And I do want to say that you bring up the other side of pampering, is that pampering doesn't have to cost money. It's just an indulgence of something that treats yourself. It's a treat. And it's not a treat that's a reward. Like, oh, I did all this, so now I can pamper myself. No, like, I deserve to go put my press-on nails on. And that's 15 minutes of pampering. You know what I mean? Or, yes, I deserve to have my full 10-step skincare routine as I really like massage and clean out my pores and just feel good, and, or do a hair mask or something like that. Pampering is just an indulgence. Like, when I also brought up, like, oh no, I can't have that ice cream right now, I'm dieting, well, you know what? I'm going to pamper myself. I am going to have a little bit of ice cream tonight. And it's not because I worked out so hard or whatever. It's not because I'm rewarding myself with a pampering session of the ice cream. I can have some ice cream. That's my little indulgence right now. It's a pick-me-up. It makes you feel good. And it doesn't, like, it's not attached to anything but making yourself feel good in that moment. Yes, of course, there's moderation. People can pamper themselves too much, having too much ice cream, spending too much money on skincare, etc. But there's moments when it involves rest and the reset and understanding that these moments are allowed to happen because you are a multifaceted human being that needs these things. A time of pampering can be okay. And pampering can look different for everybody. Like, I'm not really sure what pampering looks like for my husband. But I'm sure there are moments where a pampering of something is, I know what pampering for him is. He collects figures. I think this is what it comes down to. And sometimes he'll take the time to take everything off the shelf, dust the shelf, like move the guys in their positions or fighting stances and stuff. And that really pampers him because he just took care of something for himself. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's almost like a meditative state of, like, I'm really going to admire all these things that really bring me joy. And it's not anything that's like adding any productivity to my day. but it's something that, just brings me a lot of joy to be around these items.
Right. And that's okay.
Yes.
And
I think that
it's
makes sense.
and it's so weird for me to like talk about it because like the reason why I haven't even been doing my nails and stuff is because reasons why I think I don't deserve it. Right. I'm doing all this work, but I haven't gotten the results, the success that I want. Or even like in the midst of all this craziness, like why wouldn't I just take a moment and put some press on nails on because it makes me feel good? Like why wouldn't I just do that to pamper myself in the moment? Because that might really like spark up like, okay, like you're doing this, girl, like you're okay, like a check-in with myself in that moment of being pampered at home can really change my whole mindset of all the craziness that's going on. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I think when I was saying initially that I need to get better at pampering, that is the exact issue that I was sort of referencing. And that, like, in my mind, before discussing these different types of rest, in my mind, it's sort of like 0 to 100. I'm in my girl boss mode, I'm getting it done mode. And then, I have my modes of like, all right, the workday is done. Now I can really just like relax and rest when it could sort of be distributed in ways that overall bring the stress levels down.
Yes. Yes. That is exactly what this point is. And and us talking through it right now, that's why it's so hard. The reset, the reconnection to ourselves, the grace for ourselves in this moment, the allowance to be. The next one that Alexis will talk about is rejuvenation. And what I have here is it's something to help reset the mind, body, or soul. And this could be going for a walk. This could be some kind of physical exercise that's not draining. Walking, yoga, taking your everything shower. That rejuvenates me like nothing else.
I was
My
going to
everything
say,
shower?
I think this category might be my favorite
This might be it.
because all of the things you're listing are my favorite things. I love going for a walk. I love taking everything shower. One of my goals this year is to become a regular at like a yoga or Pilates class, not necessarily. I mean, I will say this is a little tangent. I hate sweating and working out. I am not a working out girly. However, you can be active, you can have movement, and I have noticed I feel so much more rejuvenated and so much better when I'm keeping up with my hot girl walks. And I'd love to incorporate different types of activity like that that's gentle and that I enjoy. So
Yeah.
I love rejuvenation. I feel strongly about that one.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Rejuvenation can also come from a good nap, a good productive 30-minute nap because you realize there's too much going on. Excuse me, I keep putting productive in there. Pray for me. Pray for me, guys. This is what's going on. This is what's happening.
We're working it out in real time.
We're working on it. Rejuvenation is something that like helps reawaken myself. Okay. So I think that even coloring can go into this, that rotting smooth brain activity can then leave me feeling so rejuvenated because I just put so much color in my face. Like I explored color, I explored texture, I explored shapes in that moment. Something that also rejuvenates me is like putting on an outfit that makes me feel good. Looking in my closet and just be like, I always feel good when I wear that sweater. I love how I look in those jeans. And when you put on, you just feel, you're like, oh, yes, she still got it. Like that rejuvenates and re-sparks something in me. Putting on a great outfit makes me feel so good. And it doesn't mean I have to go buy new clothes. It's just like, you know what? Let me do something that will reset how I feel about myself. A lot of times, like my body image and things like that, I'm wearing clothes that don't make me feel good. But once I put on that good outfit,
one of my favorite things of all time is taking a luxurious amount of time to get ready for an event. And it doesn't have to be a fancy event. Like just going out to dinner with my husband to like one of our favorite local spots. And I'm not talking about like getting dolled up. Like there are events that like weddings or parties or things that you feel like you have to get really fancy. I'm talking about like I'm not like rushing, slamming on my skincare and makeup, trying to get out the door, like barely running a comb through my hair, but like taking the time to like pamper myself, put on my skincare, put on my lip gloss, brush out the hair, maybe put some curls in there, blow dry it a bit. Yeah, just not constantly being like a go, go, go. That is my favorite activity. And
Yes.
I think that's a big form of rejuvenation for sure.
Even you just mentioning like putting on like lip gloss, I feel crusty one without it, but I always keep a lip gloss on me. And there's something about like having the I talked for hours, I had a meeting or something. I go in the bathroom and I'm like, and I'm taking my time. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I'm even like looking at the bristles. I'm like, and I feel new. I feel brand new. I can go back into work and I feel like I just rejuvenated myself. It's moments like that could be so small, but reset your entire mindset. So rejuvenation is really important. And you have to look at it in different ways. The ways we're talking about cannot mean the same for you.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a very good point. It can show itself in a lot of different forms, and you need to reflect and learn what types are, right for you.
And the last type is connection. Now, it depends on the kind of person you are, of course, but connection can be done in different ways. It can be connecting with yourself in a time of meditation, prayer, journaling. You're reconnecting with yourself. And sometimes it can be connecting with people. What have you done to connect yourself that's something bigger than yourself, that takes you outside of yourself? Because even sometimes when we're resting, we're still too much in our heads. We're thinking too much about ourselves. And I think that when I talked about like when I'll start to rot, then I'm in my brain like, oh my God, like I can't do this. I'm not allowed, or I can't do this for too long, or this isn't right. I'm lazy. But then maybe in this moment of connection, maybe that's the time where I need to call my girl and connect with her for 30 minutes and just talk about life and see what's up with her, see what's happening. I need connection in that moment because I need to be outside of myself. It's almost like a spiritual reset because we have to understand that our spirits and souls have to rest as well. We put so much weight on ourselves and that can really damper our spirit. But talking to my girl like resets my spirit so much.
Oh,
So these are the times of connection that I look forward to, and I know we have our schedule. Yes, we're talking about our topics, but then I can be like, "Girl, what's going on with you?"
I never really thought of having those deep conversations as a form of rest, but I do leave those conversations feeling like ready to take things on. Every time we talk to each other, I'm like, I'm excited about it now. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I feel rested. So, yeah, I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, because it allows you not to think of everything in your own head, and you're hearing a different perspective. You're hearing, a different point of view. You're getting encouragement, and that's resetting and resting yourself and be like, wow, okay, like I'm receiving this in this moment. This connection was needed. And for people who are more religious, they can say like having prayer time, like, or speaking to God gives them that connection back to their spirit. They're like, okay, like I was able to put all this out in the universe, or speak to God about this thing, and it allowed me to reconnect. I'm thinking back to our Proud of Me jar episode when I pulled out that one slip that said, I have the courage to talk to my husband about insecurity and loneliness. And that's a really heavy topic. Like, that was a really
Mm-hmm.
heavy thing that I had to talk to him about. But it allowed me to connect with him so he can see his perspective of what's going on, and me be able to talk it through. Allowed me to then reconnect with myself of like maybe what I'm missing, or maybe I just needed that moment for somebody to just hear me. Or I was able to then just listen to him, how he feels. We connected so much that day, and it really like reset ourselves, like with what we want to do with connecting with more people this year, or how we can spend more time together, or things like that. So I feel like connection is something we don't think about because we often will isolate ourselves being these productive girls. We got this work done. But a good thing of rest is, I just need to talk to my girl. Or maybe I just need to go out to dinner with my girl. That's a good rest. You know what I mean? Like if there's no work involved, there's no nothing, like I'm just connecting right now. I need to go spend time with my family. Let me call up my brother. Let me see how he's doing. That's connection. Because it takes me away from all the stress and craziness going on and allowing me to just rest in this moment with my loved one. Or another example too is like I have this situation going with my boss. He got in a really bad car accident. So he has this journal that he kept at work. And at the end of each day, I take the time and I write him a note
Oh,
in the journal every day to be like, this is what happened today. We miss you. Like, well, of course, you don't want you thinking about this, but this is what's going on. And it almost makes me feel like, one, I'm reconnecting with myself. Like, this is what happened today. I'm reflecting. But then I'm like connecting with him in a way that, because I can't call him on the phone and talk to him, but it's like, no, I'm reconnecting. What happened today? And this keeps him in the loop. So he'll come back and have all these letters. Like, that's a way of also my connection with him.
something that I've realized a little more recently and having conversations with friends and loved ones. And I think this sort of is a similar thing to writing in your journal, is just sort of talking, not necessarily to solve any sort of issue or to, get anything necessarily accomplished, but sort of just to summarize and be heard. Not every conversation needs to be like, all right, this is the problem that I'm having. And then I can be like, okay, well, this is the solution that I would give you. Sometimes you just need to like share some information and be validated and be heard. And, because when you aren't having those conversations, it can be a lot of noise in your head. And that's something that I'd love to be having more of those conversations, the silly little conversations that you meet up with your friends over coffee and you're like, what's going on? What have you heard? What are the new and cool things that you're doing in your life? Just chatting, I think, can be very rejuvenating.
Yes. Yeah, and that's that moment of connection. Me bringing up the fact that I'm about to start coloring again, and then you telling me you got color. That's just so silly,
Yes.
and it's so fun. And it's not about solving the world's problems. Like, it's not going to make us rich, but it's going to make us feel whole. I'm a grown woman. Why am I coloring? But no, like I told my bestie, she was like, I'm coloring too. And you're like, you know what? No, like, I feel so connected to you with that moment. That like
Mhm.
validated, like I can have this little moment of fun to myself. And now that when I'm thinking about, I'm like, oh, I wonder, is Jess coloring now too? Like I will feel so silly and just so alive in that moment. I feel so connected. I feel rejuvenated. I'm also pampering myself in that moment. Like almost all these things start coming into play in this one moment because I'm understanding how to implement this kind of rest into my life.
Yes, girl. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love those light bulb moments when you're sort of like talking about an interest that isn't necessarily life changing, but you're talking about a thing and then the other person goes, oh, you like this thing. And then you're like, yes, I do. Do you like this thing? And then you can sort of bond and connect over that. I love moments like that.
And I think that we have to think back to that childlike wonder we always talk about and how all of these things we used to do as kids. We used to rot as kids. Like my mom would find me like laid out in the middle of all my toys and like doing nothing or reading a magazine because it's fun. Like I don't even read magazines anymore. I was talking to my husband, like, when was the last time I picked up Vogue and I was like, inspired, reading an amazing article. Like, I need to rot like that as well. I used to do that all the time as a kid because there was no pressure, like, oh, this isn't going to pay a bill right now, or I can't show this to somebody as being productive. But like, no, it just is feeding my soul in this moment. How when you were kids, like, you would go like pamper yourself with some ice cream because you're like, not that you got good grades that day or anything like that, but the family went out for ice cream and you just felt like you indulged a little bit. It was fun, you know. Or how
Yes.
you had rejuvenation as a kid. You go outside to play because you just felt like you wanted to go outside and play. Why don't we allow ourselves to do those things in these moments now? That rejuvenated me as a kid. Touching grass, picking up worms, playing in dirt, like, and then having connection where I just sit and like chat with my little sister. And we would like play Bratz dolls or something like that because we're connecting in that moment. And that's something that brought us together. All of these things are naturally ingrained in us to do. but society or pressures or whatever it is we're growing into be as adults, we feel like we don't deserve those things anymore. And we have
Yes,
to bring that back.
we do. Yeah. We really had it made as kids, didn't we? We're
No phones, no
yeah.
computers, no.
I was thinking about how last year I had a goal to read 12 books and I did complete that goal, but that sort of stemmed from I was thinking back to when I was a kid and how much I loved to just go to the library and just look at books and just read, not necessarily things that were like enriching my brain, but just like things that, transported me to another world and I could sort of just like get lost in them. And I think, yeah, we need to take a lot of notes from our younger selves on the things that we loved and rejuvenated us as a kid. If you are listening to this and you're like, I don't even know where to start, maybe that would be a good place. Is to think about the things that you loved to do as a kid and, pick one of them back up and make some intentional time to do so.
Yes, that is your homework, you guys.
I know we're saying rest, but you have homework.
You have homework. Yes. And I loved how we talked through all this because, of course, these are things I looked up and, found information on and things like that. But it just has me thinking of like the excitement of just loving these little moments again.
In these crazy times in 2025, we were talking a little bit at the beginning of the episode about how it's been a bit of a rough start to the year. And I think implementing some of these things would be good for us. It would really help us as human beings to be, kinder to ourselves, kinder to others, to have fun, Life should be fun.
Do any of these specific types of rest stand out to you as something you want to implement more?
I know I mentioned I could probably get a little bit better about intentional pampering because, like I said before, I sort of use a lot of things in that category and I view it more as like I did this so I can have this as a reward. So it's not like I don't do those things, but I think doing those things strictly coming from a form or a place of rest, I think would be a good practice for me. I also think some more connection would be lovely. Just calling someone up just to call them up. Or, I need to go on more coffee dates. I make my coffee at home all the time and I love it. But it's been way too long since I've sat down, with my girl or with someone and just sort of like chatted about life over a good cup of coffee. So I think both of those are ones I could improve on.
I think for myself, it's the rotting aspect. I have a very hard time allowing myself to not be productive in any like moment. Like me doing those things doesn't have to achieve a result, or just allowing myself to like watch a show and enjoy it. And I'll be like, all right, that's it. Like no more TV for the week. No, like calm down, calm down. Okay, pull out your Switch and get lost in fantasy. But it just pull out a fantasy book that doesn't it's not going to teach you anything. It's not a self-help book, but it's just something to get lost in. Smooth brain activities. We are indulging in some of those in 2025 and allowing ourselves to be in it. And connection as well. One of my goals this year was to connect with more people and just be open to people. But I think also it does start with reaching out to the people in my life already who I just hold so dear and who I love so much. I know that I'm seeing you tomorrow. And even though we're doing like some work per se, it is a way for me to just like connect with you in the moment. Or even this is connection right here. I look forward to this every week.
Yes. I'm so excited for tomorrow. I don't even think we mentioned it, but while we're recording this, tomorrow is the day of our Plan Your Year with Us workshop that we're doing at the Mosaic Family Center that we mentioned in last week's episode. So by the time this episode comes out, that workshop will have already passed, but we'll be able to give you an update next episode. And yeah, we'll get to spend some face-to-face time. I'm so excited to see you.
I'm so excited to see you, girl. Yeah, I have a little gift for you. It's
Stop.
also
You didn't
excited
need
to
to
see
do
you.
that.
I'm so excited to see you. Well, I haven't seen you for Christmas, birthday, New Year's, Flag Day. Like I haven't seen you. So, but yeah, I think that 2025 is a year to have fun. It's a
Yes.
year to rest. Yes, we have goals and things we have to get done. Yes, we'll get them done. But as we say every single week, it's giving ourselves grace as we move forward this thing called life.
Yes, finding that balance. I think is something that we will never perfect, but we can continually grow in it. And I think 2025 will be a big year of focusing on that for sure. As we continue to grow older and prioritize things that we really feel like are, what's the word I'm thinking of? That you closely relate to like your true self, I guess. That feels genuine. That's the word
Yes,
I'm thinking of. Things
that
that
feels
feel
genuine.
genuine to you.
Let us know some ways that you like to implement rest, or maybe you struggle with implementing rest, and maybe this episode ignited something in you to be like, hey, I do deserve these moments of rest and relaxation and reset. And maybe tell us how you're implementing some of these types of rest into your life. We want to hear it all. We want to hear all of it.
Yes. Yeah. Be sure to follow us on our socials. Right now, we are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Not sure about the TikTok by the time our next episode comes out, but we'll keep you updated. So for now, just be sure to give us a follow, and you'll be seeing lots of fun content.
Have an amazing day, you guys. Share this with somebody you think needs to hear this message. But we will see you and talk to you next week.
Talk to you later. Rest up, everyone.
Rest up, girl.
Bye.